example, we have a law here called vagrancy, but it was decriminalized a few years back, but it's still used by some of the police to round up LGBT people who are in the streets.
Alrighty, so thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of Find Your Cause. Today we have Eljay Bernardo, who's the Executive Director of Rainbow Rights Philippines. Eljay, thank you so much for your time tonight, for your time.
Thank you for having me, Joseph.
Yes. If for people that are listening, it is 8 a.m. U.S. time and about 10 p.m.-ish, 10 p.m. in the Philippines. So yeah, we're making it work time zone-wise. So thanks everyone for joining. So per usual, we like to start with the mission of the organizations that we're interviewing.
In a nutshell, it's just about equal rights for LGBTQI plus people. So in the Philippines, we rarely talk about, or we are left in the sidelines. We are invisible in the law, and that's what we aim to change here in the Philippines. That there are LGBTQI plus people. We have a lot of contributions to our economy, to our art, to everyday life, and we need that recognition. But we do it legally. Awesome. By the way, we are a legal organization.
Yes.
So maybe think about Lambda Legal, ACLU in the US. Those are the organizations we aspire to become one of these days. And we are doing our baby steps here in the Philippines.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for that very high-level overview. So why is this a mission that you have taken up and stepped into the role as Executive Director?
Well, I was in law school. I really don't know. I just entered law school, and that's it. I just want to experience it. I haven't experienced in the Philippines. That's something that almost everyone aspires for, because it's difficult to be a lawyer and you get a lot of money out of doing legal work. But when I was in law school, I don't have any of those things, but I met the former executive director of Rainbow Rights Philippines. She taught me about the advocacy. I am a gay man, so it resonated deep in my soul. And after how many years now? 9 years of doing advocacy work during law school, and when I became a lawyer, it just became part of my mission. And we are an organization which has a lot of ideas. We are young, vibrant, and we think we can make a lot of change for LGBTQI plus people in the Philippines. And that's how. But the organization is 20. I think it just turned 20 last year, and it's really trying to find footing and momentum still. But we are hopeful that we will become a bigger movement soon enough.
Awesome. One thing that you mentioned when you shared of the mission of the organization, you said that the LGBTQI plus community is invisible in the law in the Philippines.
Yeah, we're not
expand
included
on
in the
that?
law.
What do you mean?
And we don't have marriage equality. We don't have any form of a national law that is against discrimination against LGBT people. And actually, that's a kind of misnomer, invisible. We are invisible and villainized, meaning there are laws in the Philippines that paints us as immoral, but not really criminal laws. For example, in our annulment laws, we don't have a divorce law, by the way, a national divorce law. We're the only country and the Vatican City that doesn't have a divorce law. So in the annulment law, in the family code, it is listed that homosexuality and lesbianism is a ground for annulment of a marriage. So in a way, we are being painted as when they thought about prohibiting marriage, they thought about there are LGBT people in the Philippines. And in legal separation, there's also concealment of lesbianism and homosexuality. Those are the terms that they use. And in those cases, the spouse who is accused of being lesbian or gay or homosexual is the party that is the erring party, the party in error, which means that the property, if the court finds that there is ground for annulment, so all the properties will go to the innocent spouse. So in a way, that's a way of that's one of the ways that they paint LGBT people in the bad light. And there are a lot of laws also that are misapplied to LGBT people. For example, we have a law here called but it was decriminalized a few years back, but it's still used by some of the police to round up LGBT people who are in the streets. But vagrancy is something when you look into it, vagrancy is defined in the law as if you don't have any visible means of support. So that's a remnant of an archaic law because
Yeah.
we are colonized by Spain before. So our penal laws came from Spain. So those are the ways we are villainized. We are not allowed to adopt as a couple, just as a single person. And single persons in the law is like the lower priority for adoption. So those are the things that the way we are villainized. And in some of the laws, we're just absent. They don't even mention that LGBTQIA plus people exist.
Yeah. So in your example of the marriage equality, there are in what is an alternative usually that we see is infidelity as a cause of in a divorce proceedings. Who gets what? It doesn't even say infidelity. It says if you're a homosexual, which doesn't even mean you're do any actions. It's like you're labeled as homosexual
I'll just tell you,
or
it's under
accused of being
fraud.
homosexual.
Fraud means concealment of
Yeah.
lesbianism or homosexuality, sexually transmitted disease, habitual alcoholism. So those in those lines, we are included in those classification
Jeez.
for annulment. So you can say that, oh, that's bad. Being LGBT is bad because of the laws that was created when they suddenly remember they're LGBT people.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure how familiar, because you mentioned ACLU. I'm not sure how familiar you are with how support for that community in the U.S. has evolved over the past few years. But how would you compare for the listeners that are kind of familiar with the U.S. support of that community, and how, like, what's the gap between
Oh,
U.S. and Philippines right
we
now?
mostly depend on the I might get bad reactions from the community, but it is the truth. Most of
No,
our
yeah.
non-government organizations, civil society organizations, including legal organizations like us who give free legal aid, usually get support by applying for grants from European countries, UN, these international organizations. There is no big culture in the Philippines of donation to orgs like us. There are charity organizations, and those are the organizations that usually get donations. And that's also part of our mission, just to take the opportunity to really change that and make it more of a community effort to get legal aid and to get necessary services for LGBTQ
Yeah.
plus people, and maybe expand it to other legal organizations that focus on agriculture, environment, other forms of justice. And I think that's what we're trying to do this year, is to really come with a solution on a platform where anyone can donate to us, and then we will show you what we can do with those donations. So I think that's the gap between, that's how ACLU and Lambda Legal, actually we had a training last week in Bangkok, Freedom to Marry Global. They funded the movement for 32 years before before marriage was same-sex marriage was legalized in the U.S. It was 32 years of struggle in the U.S. And we're kind of lucky in a way, because this information is being passed on to us, and we hope that it will not take as long as 32 years to get marriage equality here, or even just to have a working system that will give the organizations lifeblood in terms of financing, donations, volunteers. So I think that is the gap, but I haven't really looked into how ACLU and Lambda Legal came about, but I just follow what they do, and it's amazing. And we hope to also free up that lane here in the Philippines for lawyers, that lawyers cannot be just government lawyers.
Yes.
They cannot be just, I know it's open here, but it's not that lucrative. I mean, just providing livable wage for lawyers here who are doing work for the communities, for the poor communities, for the underrepresented communities. So I think that's the gap. I think skill-wise, we are very good also. And we have those skills. We follow U.S. jurisprudence. We follow, because we're also colonized by the U.S., and our justice system is like a hybrid of Spain and the USA. So we know how it is done, but we just don't have that means. We don't have the platform. And I think it's also part of the blame falls into the volunteer organizations, because we have not for the past, maybe, when did we regain democracy here? Maybe the past 50 years, We really didn't have that much of a culture change, thinking of how to sustain these organizations and to sustain lawyers who work in the communities. It's
Yeah.
kind of
No,
long.
thank you for that. And yeah, no, this is all really good information and understanding the difference, like for people that are in the U.S. and understanding what the laws are and what that community here in the U.S. has gone through, how long it's taken, and then like where other communities around the world are in that process. And I still think we have a long way to go in the U.S. But yeah, it seems like there's some models globally that are working in organizations that are collaborating at a global level to help each other. So 20 years ago, what did Rainbow Rights Philippines look like? What were some of the main activities that the organization was founded on and
All right,
provided you
this is
with?
an anecdote from 20 years ago. There was a time that I'm sure in the US there's also like bathhouses where things happen inside the privacy of a room. And there was a time when the gay men actually were targeted by the police because in the Philippines, we usually joke about it, but it's really bad that during June and December, some of the law enforcement really target minorities, round them up, and try to extort them for money in exchange of their freedoms. So in 2005, that was how it was
Mm,
seen before. I think it was in June and December. Why June and December? Because June is the start of the school year where kids are enrolling in private schools. So they told us that maybe they're trying to get more money for the enrollment of their children. And December is Christmas time. So there's for the celebration, so they try to do to hustle for money. So at that time, there are, I think like 20 to
mm-hmm.
30 gay men were rounded up in a city here in the Philippines. And it was in the news, but they don't have any legal representation. So in 2005, a group of
Mm,
lawyers, women lawyers actually, came to their aid. And after that, they formed Rainbow Rights Philippines. It was Rainbow Rights Project then. And throughout the years, because I think it's also a sustainability issue, but also the uniqueness of the Philippine way of doing things legally, we did a lot of trainings for paralegals in the Philippines. We know that having paralegals on the ground is a good for legal first aid to people who are in need of legal aid. So that's what we did. We had a lot of trainings. We did a lot of researches also, and on the legal side, and that evolved into how we do it today. Like we have a capacity building, and that is for our paralegals, so that
mm-hmm.
members of the members of the community, organizations for LGBT people who are not really legally inclined, we teach them how to use the law to their favor, how to interpret the law, and what to do in situations just as I described, what to do in those situations. We also did a lot of research
Yeah.
just to capture the lives that of LGBT people in the Philippines and what are their needs. And then we also have those capacity building and research. And then now we are trying to up our legal assistance arm and legal aid by representing clients in the courts of law and maybe do a lot of strategic litigation this time around. So those are our pillars of
Yeah.
how we work. So we teach, we train, we do research, and then we represent clients in court and in other tribunals.
In the yeah, so say for example, I was somebody that is going through your capacity building teaching training program, and I don't know what laws protect me and what laws don't. And so what do you say are the top one or two teachings or
Oh
education
yeah,
activities that you're doing with folks in that community to protect themselves? Like, what are some of the aha moments where people are like, "Whoa, like actually,
yeah,
the police can't do that to
yes,
me.
yes.
Like they've been doing it to me for
Yeah,
10 years.
really
Like
just
what are those
we're
things?"
leaning on
Yeah.
our due process clause in the Philippines, or you cannot be deprived of your life, liberty, and property without due process of the law. So we tell them, we look for, are there arrest warrants? Were you caught in the act? And what are the jurisprudence about searches, stop and frisk? In the Philippines, we allow stop and frisk and those arrest and seizures. So we teach them the law, and maybe we also add that there are also laws that protect them. They can sue the police, sue the person, file administrative cases against the police. And we also do a lot of dialogue. So the power of dialogue, sometimes you don't have to be overly legal about it. So we teach them how to approach the situation, and then you tell them that you know the law about this, and maybe we can talk things out. Maybe we don't have to file administrative cases against you. In a way, that's like a cease and desist letter, but in a verbal form. In some cases where there's no chance to say that, we do a lot of letters. We write letters to these law enforcement agencies, law enforcement people. Now, these are the laws, and you cannot do this. So we teach them how to write those letters as well. So I think that's kind of the most important things that they learn about in those dire situations.
Yeah.
But in essence, we also teach them that even though we are invisible under the law, when the law speaks about men and women, for example, in our labor law, that you have equal opportunities for men and women, that should also apply for LGBT people, because it's just about merit and fitness, and your sexuality, your gender identity does not have anything to do with how you do your work. So those things, we teach them the basis of those laws, now they protect themselves, and kind of expand on it. But you see the problem there, because it could be interpreted as, no, you're not protected under this law. So it's also very important to do the legal advocacy work that we also do in Congress and in the Senate. And those are the branches of legislation in the Philippines.
Yeah. Okay. How have the police responded to this, and how have just the police in general, probably in more of the main popular cities in the Philippines, how have they evolved over the past 20 years? Are you seeing a positive trajectory, a stagnant trajectory? Are there some police that are like wanting to also participate in the education that you're providing, or are they very hesitant at all of communication and trying to learn? I'd love to hear from your opinion how the police have
One of
evolved.
our running jokes in our work, because we did training with the police, and then we did training with other people, and then we always tell them that the police gets it the slowest, because I think it's just about
Yes.
priorities. It's just a different priority. The rule of law,
Yeah.
also the general climate, the rule of law in the Philippines can be tricky, because there's impunity. Whatever they want to do, they can do, because they are police. That's the kind of sense we're getting before. Even now, there's that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
But when the police sees that there are organizations like us who can help these people, there's a significant drop on these cases. However, we're just very few. So there are a lot of areas I don't think that we can reach. So, but for
Yeah.
overall trajectory, we have done trainings with the police. They have a women desk, which now includes LGBT people. And I think also the general climate of pop culture helps a lot. They know we are very attuned with
Yeah.
what's happening in the US, who are the artists, are there queer artists, and I think it permeates some of the people in law enforcement as well. So they know our media also has, although it's not ideal how we are represented in the media in the Philippines, we are becoming more and more visible. The largest artist in the Philippines now is an openly queer person. So in that sense, we can see that institutions are falling in line, or in a way, or kind of getting an idea that they have to respect also the choices
Yep.
of LGBT people. It doesn't affect them. It's about affirming identity, sexual orientation. So in a way, we are still, I can confidently say that it's still on an upward trajectory, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And sometimes there are, like in the
Yeah.
past administration, the Duterte administration, if you haven't gotten wind of that, we sense some backtracking from the police. But I think right now it's quiet. But let's see once we go to Congress again and see. And usually and let me
Yeah.
just share also, we have congressional hearings in the Philippines about laws. So we get to be resource persons with all of these government agencies for, but the pending bill in the Congress is an anti-discrimination bill. It's been pending in Congress for 26 years now. And usually in congressional hearings, we have government agencies who will say that they are in favor of getting the bill passed. But we have legislators who are evangelical, coming from those who have a lot of power, and we're just low priority also. So there. So it
Mm,
didn't. It
mm.
does. It's still in limbo
Yeah.
for 26 years.
I love though how you mentioned it sounds like
Yes.
culture and specifically art, not that a justification is needed to explain why anti-discrimination and equal rights should be a thing. But one thing you said early on in the conversation is the community, the LGBTQI plus community, contributes to the economy from an art perspective, music, content creation. I'd love to touch a little bit more on that, just to explain why that is such an important part of just cultural development in general, and the positive impact that it brings and your
Yeah,
with that as well.
actually, we love to point out that in our prehistory, the transgender women are called babaylan or katalonan. Those two words. They are community leaders, and in before we were colonized, these transgender women are revered by the communities because they think that it's a godsend that one person is both a vessel of masculinity and femininity. We like to point that out, even in
Mm,
history, that from then on, we are leaders of our communities. But just right now, the entertainment industry in the Philippines cannot stand without queer people. And many industries
many
in the
industries
Philippines,
across the world. Yeah.
it's stereotyped as a very
Yeah.
gay
Yep.
profession to be in media, to be in makeup, to be in art. But meaning we are also very ingrained in those areas. And there's just
Mm.
we also like to make the argument that we are just one country in 198 country, if I'm right, globally. So we have to step up and be in tune with what is happening in Europe, in countries where democracy is consolidated, because we get business from them. So if your company or
Right.
if your firm does not even know or does not even respect people, you don't know, maybe the the foreign investor is a gay person or a lesbian person, transgender person. So we always say
Yep.
that it's gonna
Yep.
be an embarrassment for you if you don't know this, if you don't know what inclusivity is, if you don't know what diversity is. But yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a
And
great
I
call out
think we
for the
have also
economy. Yep. Yep.
researches that show that just out of the corner, I think there's a research that came out now that we are losing money because we are not giving equal rights, because we are
Mm.
effectively excluding some LGBT people to be part of the workforce, to have open opportunities, and even to get married, because we are losing, for example, Bangkok now and Thailand is earning from marriage equality. A lot of people from other countries are going to Thailand to get this to have their ceremonies there, have their marriage ceremonies there. So
Yeah.
there's also that cost.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
Yep.
think also,
That's
yeah.
money not spent in country. That's taxes not collected
But
in
in a more
country. Yep.
sentimental way, we also want to say that every one of us knows someone who's a lesbian, someone who's gay. If you live in maybe if you live in a cave, you don't know anyone who's like that. And this is the time that you also acknowledge that your friendship with these people, the way you know them, the way they contribute to your life, should also honor that by having the right mindset and treating them as equals.
Yeah. The next 20 years, what do you hope your
Yeah,
organization grows
we
to
want more
in the
lawyers.
next 20?
We want steady.
Yes.
I don't know. Organizationally speaking, I really think 20 years from now we can become more stable. Can have more volunteers. So we're working so hard, and and I'm really really hopeful for that. But policy wise, I think in 20 years I will be how old by then?
Yeah.
Basically, marriage equality should be instituted here. We will fight for that
Yes.
tooth and nail. And legal gender recognition also for trans people to have them change their civil registries from whatever they want. Not just family laws that are more inclusive, like for adoption, and maybe for people
Mm,
also.
mm.
We are all, for other people also, for the sake of everyone. We also want divorce to be instituted in the Philippines. Yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, no fault divorces. Maybe you fell out of love, and I think that's important also to break this. They think that marriage is something that's mystical, that's not it's sacred, yeah, between the two of you, but something that is governed by the church. So if we have that instituted, we could
Mm.
also see a lot of opening. But yeah, just to sum up, equal society in 20 years. Maybe in 20 years, we'll just be reminding people of the laws that we have, of the jurisprudence that we help create, and maintain that so that it will not go back to the way it used to. Yeah, in 20 years, thinking very positively.
Yeah. Wow. That is an awesome outlook. So people that are listening, where could they find you? How could they engage with you? What type of engagement do you look for?
Yeah,
More
more
lawyers,
volunteers.
definitely one.
If you have anything for us, if you want to
Yes, more
train us,
volunteers.
can also be that. Even online, we do that. But yeah, you can reach us through our social media. It's our rights PHL across the board. I think Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have our website, ourrightsphl.org. So that's two R's, then IGHTSPHL. And soon enough, maybe
Right.
there will be a donation link there. And maybe you can donate to us if you love what we do, and we will show you what we can do with your donations.
Yeah. Wow. Well, anything that we missed or anything you want to leave us with before we wrap up the interview
I'm
here?
just thinking of what do I want to say.
We,
Yeah.
we covered a lot
Yeah, so
in these 30
maybe
minutes.
something about the Philippines. The Philippines is touted as one of the friendliest places for LGBTQI plus people. However, that being friendly, we hope that it gets translated into policy, to a culture of diversity and inclusion. And I hope that the Filipinos would not stop at being friendly. They would go further to love LGBT people, to accept them, and to understand what we need in terms of education, in terms of our work, our lives, maybe even in basic services. So being friendly is not enough. I know Filipinos love saying that, oh, there's a lot of gay people in the Philippines. There's a study that we have the most transgender people, even more than Thailand. But with that pride, it should come with policy, it should come with support, and it should come with love also. Because we foster, that's how we should show our love, by supporting policies and supporting organizations that promote LGBTQ plus rights.
Well, what a great way to end, Elj. Thank you so much for your time. We're honored to share your story, and we'll make sure to share all the links so people that are listening can get engaged and get involved however they see fit and however they're inspired to. But thanks again,
It's okay.
very for you. Have a
us.
nice night. Yes. Have a nice night, and we'll be cheering for you on the sidelines here and promoting this
Maybe
story
we can do
on
another
all
interview
platforms.
if we get significant wins, and I will tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to organize a trip out there too. So definitely more to come on that. I've never been, so it's on the list. Awesome. Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Eljay. Have a nice night, and we'll be talking to you soon.